Hey guys, it's Krista from Enneagram and Marriage Podcast. Hope you're doing well. For those watching on video, we are taking a deep dive into fives today in 10 minutes or less. If you want a more thorough analysis, you're going to have to go to our actual deep dive 5 episode earlier this last season. We're in season 4, so just earlier in the season. And then also, if you want to check out fives with every type in marriage, go back to the vault that is otherwise known as season 1. So let's get started on talking about what fives love in marriage, because one thing I know about fives is that they do want to be known. They're not fours who say, like, don't know me. They're like, hey, it's hard to know me, but I actually prefer you do know me, because fives love logic and simplicity, and they love just kind of getting the exterior auxiliary pieces out of the way so that they can dive deep into whatever they're doing. And of course, we'll talk about what they can get stuck in on sometimes in marriage, which can be a bit of their 4 romantic wing. But really, I just want to start with saying fives like to be clear, logical. And if they are playing games, it should be a strategy game. It should be something with a lot of mental pieces, because they're a very fun head type. That means they love to think. They are always trying to analyze what's going to happen next. They look at the past a lot too, what's happened in the past that will inform what's happening next. And they want to be ready and prepared along with the others in the thinking triad 6 and 7. So they really like to make sure that they're safe, and they are sometimes guarded because they feel and realize that humans have a limited capacity. They're very aware of that because usually in their past, somebody made them feel like they were going to be overwhelmed and might even die if they gave out of themselves too much. So, what you can do with all of this information in marriage is, first of all, sit with that, because that's probably the biggest thing we could do with any of our type work is just let that sink in. Take a nice deep breath while I'm talking here to say to yourself, okay, wow, I just learned that as a 5, or my partner or friend who's a 5 thinks and does life, that they feel like it is not always going to be easy to give more, because they are honestly feeling like they might not make it if they do. So that's a huge piece of awareness for you to realize that's going on. And it should offer you some compassion once you realize that too, because now you've got this new idea of, okay, in our relationship, I wanted things my way, because that's just how it is in relationships, whoever you are listening. But now you're able to add this in with, maybe they are relational because they are, and they do want to help me to have my way because they do love you. But they also have to work with this piece of information, which is super important to the whole 5 puzzle. And that is, they're working with limited resources. Most particularly, however, they're working with the mindset of limiting beliefs that they will run out of energy. And some of it is true, like I said, but some of it is actually their mental concoction that isn't exactly true, because what we do also know is that we have, from the tiniest microorganisms to the biggest macrocosm that we can imagine, a reliance on all things. We are not vacuums unto ourselves, but we truly depend on one another for our survival at every level. So, fives geeking out with me here need to recognize that as their spouse is trying to bring them into this life terrain, it's a good thing. And spouses, it is a good thing because you're trying to bring them into some synergy. But while you do that, you have to understand that they're not going to feel very safe doing it because of their historical memories of when this was done in the past, this overwhelming them and actually making them feel perhaps even very close to death. And they perhaps even have stories that they can tell you about that. So, welcome in the stories, welcome in the learning. But what I want you to do, and what I want you fives to know, is it's also good for your spouse to love you by saying, let me help you to feel safe, whatever we're going to do. And for fives, if you feel safe, you're going to want to do it. So it's not going to be every situation that you're feeling unsafe in. It's just going to be certain ones that you don't want to do. And here's where I want your spouse to lean in, is I want them to understand that a major compromise is going to be needed, and that they're going to need to accept your boundaries. So if your 5 is the one you're asking, how do I love them? Make sure you respect if they say that's just too much for me, I'm not crossing that line, whatever it is, that you really listen hard to that. And I do want you to do a little bit of, hey, do you remember about synergy? Do you remember that it's healthy when we lean in and not out? Take breaths, take pauses, take breaks, drive separately sometimes, and see what your five says to that, because it's important. And I want you fives listening to know that, like, it's everything. It's more than just important. It's everything to be able to say, I am doing my work too. I am being brave and I am trusting this process with some faith that when I do lean in, there is some sort of synergy and connection, and I do get something replenished. That's important for you to hold on to because it's true. And your essence of hanging on to the unhealthy aspects of your personality could lead you into a very dark tunnel or hole where you can no longer tolerate stimulus of any kind. So let your spouse help love you in this way. But spouses do understand that as they struggle with scarcity and resourcing, that they have some validity here too. And they're often very scientific with it. So they can help you to know, hey, if we budget well, and if we plan even a budgeting of our energy, then we will be able to go for the long haul and we will be able to have that synergy we want in certain areas. So remember that too, that fives are major planners and they want to plan wonderful things in your life. So another thing that you can know about your five is that they want you to be available for the plans that they want to make too. So as much as you have your agenda, like we all do, and you want certain things, it's also great to say, let's take some space and not just the five pause, but I'm going to pause here and really see what you want for us. Because your five, like I said, they are quite relational. They are often going to want a lot of fun with you once you settle down and just lean in there. So your leaning in looks like respecting their space and boundaries, gently asking them to come toward you, and then finding out what they want to do, truly listening and pausing and letting them rest a bit to tell you what they want to do, and then letting them take the reins on some of that. Also, it's important that when you love a five, that you make sure that you give them the safe space to lead you in some things because they do actually like leading. Fives have a very strong eight arrow. A lot of people don't know that. And they're just like, fives are on the outskirts and they can blend in and kind of just be the wallflower. They can do that as they observe. But what they also like to do is make deductions and solve the puzzle like Sherlock. So let them in to lead some things with their wonderful wisdom so that they get a chance to be part of it all. And when they're having fun or sharing about something or going off on a riff about something they love, then make room for that riff, make room for it in conversations, show them honor, show them respect, because as we're learning to shape one another's behaviors in healthy ways in marriage, something that we want to do is we want to really celebrate when our partners lean into spaces that we like, even if it's a bit differently than we would feel comfortable with. So I try to do that when my husband leans into emotions because it's not always my safest, easiest place, but I'm like, oh, that's good. He's not always that good at that. Neither am I. So you even hear me getting tongue tied talking about it. So it's important that I let him show me the way there. So just like Mandalorian, this is the way. I want you to let your five show you their way. I want you to have some fun together, apart from others, just replenishing. And I also want you guys to nudge each other toward the good things in life. So, okay, well, I hope that episode was helpful. If you want a lot deeper of a dive, don't forget to check the show notes. Don't forget to check the Type 5 deeper info or our glow guides for fives with every pairing or oldest episode. Okay, take care, guys. Bye bye.